We're trying again. Good morning, good morning, good morning. What a blessing. It's supposed to be rainy today. I'm Jackie Glass, Mama, Navy vet, certified doer, and your laced up legislator for the House of Delegates, 89th District. Super blessed to be here with you this morning. As we take our walk, we're going to a special place in our neighborhood today that I'm really excited about. I hope you're excited about it. So hopefully along the way, we'll be able to talk about the fact that we have been officially called back to Richmond on June 1st. So June 1st, I will be heading back to Richmond, which is what we do, right? As a legislator, it's what we do. We're back and forth, and there's a lot of things on the in-between if we're taking care of people and doing it right. I wanted to go through a couple things first. You know, what happened sort of this weekend, some things we need to do before June 1st, and then really talk about the legislation that we're going to be diving into on June 1st. Make sense? Let me wipe this for you. Can you see a little better? Yeah, okay. So then dive into the legislation that we're going to be looking at on June 1st. So first, Saturday, if you missed it, we had Norfolk Can Fly. And as you guys know, one of our missions in this office is we want to get the aviation curriculum into our STEM programs in our school. But more importantly, we want to build dreamers about flying, all the different things. We want more pilots, we want more airline, we want folks working on planes. We're getting ready to be in the midst of a crisis if we don't do something about it in the next 10 years, thereabouts. So the event was super phenomenal, and I hope that you guys later check out our page. We will be posting all the different pictures, and I'm just so excited. I saw so much Black boy joy. I saw parent joy. I heard from an elder woman who said, a retired woman, I'm going to apply to be a flight attendant because there's no age limit, and right now they need them. Young children reading maps. It was just beautiful. Excited. Shout out to IC Norcom, NJROTC. They came through. They made an amazing event, and they had a phenomenal time. To the parents, other legislators, Commonwealth Aviation, it was dope. If you missed it, that's fine. Guess what? We're doing it again next year. So really super excited about what's to come there. Secondly, before we get to the legislation that we'll be talking about on June 1st, secondly, before I go up on June 1st, I have the opportunity to celebrate or commemorate people, right? I can put in commending resolutions. I can put in memorial resolutions. That means if you've had a loved one that maybe passed some years ago or passed since the beginning of the year, and you'd like them to be, to honor their legacy in life through a House resolution, you can send that information to our office. That's Del J. Glass at house.virginia, Virginia spelled out, .gov. Like, you can, and if you want somebody celebrated, we've celebrated grocery stores, we've celebrated individuals, but all of this matters, right? So if you want that to happen, you just need to email us with details. I like them to be personal, right? Like, hold on, school bus. That's my school bus driver. But yes, it's an opportunity, and we want you to seize that opportunity, okay? So there's that. So let's get deep into this legislation that we're really going up. What's super important for you guys to know is that all of this, if you hear something that I talk about today, remember our jobs: educate, advocate, celebrate, legislate. If there's something here that you're like, hey, I really like that, and I want to advocate for the representatives to support it, get down on it, right? Like, if it's something that you're like, no, I hope you guys don't support that when you go up, you still have opportunity to lobby or advocate for some of these bills, okay? It's a laundry list of them. I'm going to go through them pretty quickly. If you have any questions in the interim, all I need you to do is drop them in the chat, okay? Drop them in the chat as we go through. Are you guys ready? Here we go. So the first bill that we'll be going through is the budget. You guys probably already knew that the budget is a huge piece of why we're going back up there. Plus plus a couple, I'm walking across the street, so I just wanted to pay attention. There we go. So the budget bill is a huge piece of why we're going. The budget bill is in two pieces, right? Because it's a building budget year. So we've got our amendments. We've got amendments and things to do in the budget. So we have House Bill 29 and 30. As soon as they publish the budget, I will be able to look at it and tell you, and we can have a conversation this early about what's in it, what's not in it, percentage-wise, what's being taken away, because it's going to be a compromise, right? It's got to be a compromise between us and the Senate, and recognizing that there's some fundamental value difference between the Democratic Senate-led Senate and the Republican-led House. That's going to be a big one. It's going to be really important because we're all about bringing resources. Second bill, which is House Bill 86, Tim Anderson, delegate out in Virginia Beach, wants to have an electronic searchable database for people to look at campaign finance reports. That already exists. He wants the government to do one. So VPAP, VPAP.gov exists, as well as you can go to Comet, which is a government site, and search campaign. You can see who's donated to me, where I've spent all our money on both of those websites. VPAP I recommend because it's got data on there that's more user friendly, where you can it's visual data, which is super important. So I believe I voted against that because I think sometimes when we take things that are working really well and remove them from the private sector and put them in the public sector, we don't do a service to them. And also we have to pay somebody to maintain, uphold, and do all that good stuff with the database, which just doesn't rock well with the way bureaucracy works. So I'm sure I will be voting against that one. House Bill 90, McNamara, that's the sales tax. So we're on June 1st. Keep in mind, right? June 1st, we go back in and we vote on these bills. July 1st is when these bills go into enactment. So we will be voting on the sales tax. That will be determined whether or not you're going to be paying taxes for groceries. It is up in the air. The groceries tax typically goes to transportation projects and goes to education projects. Education, we have seen where they have supplemented that in other places, but again, I can't say 100% until I look at the budget bill, which is House Bill 29 and 30, right? Till we look at those bills, we can't say for 100% certainty that that's what's up, right? House Bill 103 is a deduction for eligible for educators to have a certain level of deduction for expenses that they're making. Good bill, right? They shouldn't have to pay. They're buying supplies out of their pocket, so we want them to be able to deduct that on their taxes. And I think the amount for them being able to deduct has increased. Diverse Educator Scholarship Fund created and established. That's one that I'm going to still look into, because part of what we're seeing right now is diverse is being weaponized in a way to tear apart the Civil Rights Act, because we're allowing folks to say, forget about history, right? Don't forget that these things were built because non-white, non-men, non-Protestant people were being discriminated against. We're going to say, let's tell y'all forget history, and then flip it on its head and say we need diversity. And it's a lot, right? It's a lot to hold in your hands when you're trying to measure intent. So that bill, I haven't decided where I stand. House Bill 177 was a Bloxham bill. He's actually a Hampton Roads legislator. Let me tell you, this bill was great as he brought it. He brought it to us, and the bill, what it did was said that all you had to do was provide your social security number. You didn't need a witness. The bill, so the last 4 years, just like when you sign someone's petition for them to get on the ballot, same deal. It would have been the same deal to vote absentee. They can look you up by your social, and you'd be done. That is much better than a signature requirement, because who can actually verify a signature, right? On top of that, I can tell you, when I'm in a rush, when I'm taking my time, when I want my name to be legible, my signature looks different every time. So I just thought it was a great bill as it came. But then when we took it into committee, it changed into having a signature requirement and a witness requirement. So bad bill, good bill gone bad, right? It was a good girl. Ain't that a Rihanna bill? Good girl gone bad. That's what Jay-Z said. Having a health and workforce development, a special advisor to the governor is one of them, House Bill 191, a House Bill 305, which is an appointment of commissioners and election, board membership. They want to shift the membership of the commissioners of elections. It's really interesting because the way it looked to me when we first saw this bill is that it was just making it maybe a bit more partisan. We debated this a lot. I'm not sure what it looks like now because all of these bills are still in conference. Remember, these are bills that we weren't able to come to an agreement on between the House and the Senate, and they're still in conference. They're still debating, just like the budget, how we want to vote on these laws on both sides of the General Assembly. So it is going to be up to us to, like, once we get there, review all of these bills. I'm going to start kind of cramming through these because I got something really special for you guys. So do not hesitate. If you want me to send you this list, please email our office at deljglass.virginia.gov. If you want a link to where you can see all of these, please email our office at deljglass@house.virginia.gov. So you can see how the language changed. And if you've got any questions on where you're looking at them, do not hesitate to reach out to us because one of our pillars is to educate, so you can advocate better with us. All right, I'm rolling through, right? House Bill 347, which is the laboratory schools. I don't know if you guys remember that. Laboratory schools used to be a thing back in the day where teachers, literally a lab school, where teachers could go to actually practice that craft before at the school, and there were schools inside of the school where teachers could get that OJT in an educational facility. They're trying to bring lab schools back. House Bill 349, foster care housing support for people between the ages of 18 and 21. We've got a terrible foster care system. Just saying, as I've learned a little bit more, we're doing a disservice to those who leave the system. So this was just establishing a line of support for those from 18 to 21 in the foster care system. House Bill 563, school construction fund and program established. That one, we're going to have a whole conversation about what that one looks like, right? It's a step. We're going to have a whole conversation about what that looks like because several things are happening, and I think there is a strategic method to degrade and degradation of resources and viability of public schools. And here's the deal: is we have amazing educators. We need to work on our infrastructure. Period. Like we can all debate about funding and things for or fundamental ideologies about public school, but we got to do a better job taking care of it. So like you can't beat it down without properly resourcing it. House Bill 653. Hey, 653. That is establish and implement a local placement board for foster care. So remember, there are a lot of bills on foster care, really trying to look at that foster care system and do better by it. House Bill 680 is medical assistance services, a plan, so a state plan, case management services for individuals who have severe brain injury. Because when they're trying to get support, oftentimes there is a lot of TLC that's needed there. So this bill is expanding or looking at the medical assistance services. This one is really important, right? This one is based off a story that happened nationally, and it's about how there was a change made when we saw the national news not doing, things happening nationally, and now they're trying to make those changes go back, or this particular bill is to walk it back. House Bill 736. This is on search warrants and search warrant executions. Now, when Breonna Taylor was murdered, we were talking about no-knock warrants, about the timing of warrants, right? People getting woke up out of their sleep, all these different things, right? Search warrants. Last year or the year before, I can't remember, it may have been last year, what the General Assembly did was they changed the time of search warrants execution from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Because I don't know if you know this, there's a time block in which the police officers have in order to execute warrants. So they said from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. daylight, when there's daylight outside, that they can execute warrants, right? Because all of these ones where black folks were getting shot and killed I'm just being honest, right? Like, we're at night. So it was, okay. Didn't want to get on soapbox and want to get through these bills. So House Bill 736 is now going to change the search warrant time from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. So from 8 to 5, which is the current standing in law, and then switch it from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. House Bill 764 is a charitable gaming. So walking into allowing charitable gaming folks to be able to hold Texas Hold'em as one of their charitable gaming operations, and the registration of the landlords in those properties that are allowing parties to do Texas Hold'em, because we have now allowed, gambling in the state of Virginia. So a lot of things are trying to change about how charitable organizations, how they do bingos and things like that, are able to what's in the realm of possibility for them to execute. House Bill 833, you've heard me talk about this one. Y'all have heard me talk about this. And let me say good morning again. If you're just joining us, good morning. You've heard me talk about this one. This is that Operation Ceasefire grant fund. Decent enough bill. These are only the House bill. Know that we have Senate bills that we need to go through. The Senate bill, which is 825, I believe. Maybe I might be wrong. 824. This one, Ceasefire, I'm skeptical of Ceasefire because it is more on the side of enforcement, right? Like looking at gun violence or violence intervention through enforcement, grants to training and things like that for police officers, rather than community development. And like what we do know is that if enforcement worked, it would have been working years ago. It would have been working years ago. You know what I mean? So the Senate bill allows for grant funding to some of these community-based organizations, which we talked about several times, about getting our organizations prepared to be able to take on some of this money that's going to come down. It is really great to have people in the community doing amazing things, but if they cannot grow and scale, then they cannot expand the things that they are doing. We got to get folks ready. Reach out to your organizations that you feel like are out here doing great work, and let's get them prepared to get some of this grant money. But that's if it's in the budget, right? So I gotta get my hands on the budget and really see where the funding is and where things have gone. And we'll talk about the one thing that's really important to us on that one. House Bill 935. It's about income tax refunds for individuals and married persons filing jointly. Switches the timeline for due from before July to before November, and then just talks about the amounts of its tax reform, which is much needed. Let me just be honest. Only got a few more, y'all. I promise you, and then we're done skis. I promise. And if you got questions, don't hesitate to put them in the chat again. House Bill 993. This is the hazing one, right? It changes. So we've had over past several years. I mean, I think we've had it quite often that folks end up losing their lives while they're being hazed, and oftentimes it becomes a civil suit, and there's certain levels where they cannot file criminal charges against a student. This changes the definition between civil and criminal liabilities for hazing situations where there's hazing. House Bill 1046 is discussing sort of pulling together to study a process to allow for certain medicines to be able to be purchased over the counter. So we need to look at some of these medicines that have now sort of transitioned and decide whether or not we want to allow them to be sold over the counter. House Bill 1053. This one is I'm really torn on this one. Don't know what I'm going to do. But this is a correctional facilities, local fees associated with inmates. So this bill essentially says sheriff departments or correctional facilities cannot price gouge. The problem is right now is that oftentimes in a correctional facility, like let's just say, for example, a mini pack of M&Ms. A mini pack of M&Ms in a correctional facilities could cost like $8. Like the mini pack, they pay $8, right? So essentially, like, because I'm their only supplier, and I know there's always a demand, I can set my prices however. That's not great, because what ends up happening is that costs that costs the folks on the outside that are possibly putting money on the books, on the commissary for inmates. However, the other side of this sword is that pricing, it's like lottery money, right? To be quite honest, that price allows a lot of our correctional facilities to do the programming to ensure that folks are not walking themselves back into the system. That helps make workforce development jobs. I've actually talked to our sheriff and just sort of like sat down with him and got a good understanding. And he's like, yes, we do. Yes, this is real. It's a real thing. But we are not properly funded to ensure that folks don't come back. And so, it's like, making people, it not depends on how you look at it. It's making folks pay for, to ensure, yeah, it's a tax, like people are paying for these programs. And, I don't want price gouging. I also don't want to lose some of these programs, which if you haven't, I think maybe I'll do a sit down with the sheriff one day so that you guys can really hear about the programming that they have inside of the jail to prevent, like, it's some really, really good stuff. Like people coming out with five figure jobs, right? Like, for real. So there's great work happening. I'm gonna have to sleep on that one. Sales tax for military benefits. We're trying to tax, House Bill 1128. We are lowering the amount of money that folks can be taxed for their military retirement pay. We lose a lot of talent because folks that retire either go to Texas or Florida because their money's not taxed. It's easier to go there. Their retirement isn't taxed. So what they're saying is that there's a debate between how much, whether it's $20,000 or $40,000 that we don't tax. And to be honest, like if you do 20 years and you are a senior enlisted person, 20,000 is a great number to not be taxed. 40,000 is when you get up into the captain, the admiral area that they're making when they retire. And that's an emergency order. So if that goes through, if we on June 1st, if we vote on that, you'll see it says emergency. I'll show it to you. I'm looking at if you can see, it says emergency. That means it goes into effect off top, right? We don't wait until July 1st for it to enact it. That means that it's going to happen right away. Establishing authority for Fort Monroe. Let me see. I'm going through here to see if there's any ones that like need to. Facial recognition technology. We're having that conversation, y'all. House Bill 1399. That's a huge one. Football stadium. The Commanders just bought land. The Washington Commanders just bought land up in the Prince William County area, and they're preparing themselves to have a space in place here. Right? They're preparing themselves for that. So that's a big deal. Keep your eyes on that. I did not vote for the stadium because within that agreement, it already has us paying for it. And I'm not okay with Virginia's paying for it. And I know this, the folks that own the stadium can go ahead and put all the money they need in to build this stuff out. I just don't think we should pay a tax for that. I don't think that we should be bonded to do that. It's just not acceptable. So if they can find a way to make millionaires pay for the things that they want, then great. I don't believe they need tax incentives to build a stadium, especially for what they make, and period. So like, we can debate it, but that's where I stand. And then we have the gas tax, right? We'll be voting on the gas tax as to whether or not we're going to do the tax holiday. That's in there. That's a lot. And we're at 7 o'clock. I really did want you guys to have a clear understanding of what it is that we're doing, right? Like what we're going up there to do. And if you have any questions, if something sounded like music to your ears or sounded terrible, engage, right? Let's make sure that we're coming from a place of knowledge as we sort of build out, because all of this in some way, shape, or form is going to affect a Virginian. And that Virginian could be you, it could be your neighbor, it could be the person you stand next to in Wawa. So we've got homework to do before we go back up there. But before I sign off, about 3 years ago, right now, like I'm sort of in the background on Civic League. I still show up. The vice president is Miss Babcock, amazing woman, is stepping up and really being a huge part of this. But we have been working on a park for years. We walked the neighborhood, asked all the kids what they wanted, what they're looking for. Asked adults what they wanted, what they're looking for, because we want it to be a generationally diverse park. And guys, look what's happening in my neighborhood. I am so excited. I had some of the teenagers coming. Actually, it's funny because two of the guys I asked, they were like freshmen, I think, when I asked them about, hey, what do you want? And they're about to graduate high school. And they said, Miss Jackie, they came up to me, Miss Jackie, I saw the park down there. Like, it's exciting, right? It's exciting to have new things, and it's exciting to be a part of the beautification of your neighborhoods. And that is what mitigates crime, right? Those sorts of things, the culture that we build about, do we value this neighborhood, is a portion of that. And we take responsibility for that because we were a part of the process in bringing it to our home. So as we really think about what it looks like, because that crime reduction is going to be a huge piece, one of the things that I'm looking at in the budget, I am telling you this, one of the things that I'm looking in the budget is that witness protection program. Y'all know we've been talking about this since March. And we've worked really, really hard to get them to fund the witness protection program. Our Commonwealth's Attorney Office is 0 for 5 on murder convictions. Why? Because we can't get people to show up for court. We find the people, they find the folks, they figure out who it is, and then when it comes time to convict, they can't get people to show up. They can't get the right people to ID them, and that kills that case. So if we're going to do a service to our system, we're going to do a service to our communities, we've got to make it culturally, put us in a place where people can feel comfortable about saying, not in my neighborhood, we're not having that over here. And when you do come over there and do that, do these sorts of things, there is a price to pay, right? We're not having that. We got to flip that switch. So I'm hopeful that if you guys can, lobby the heck out of some of these legislators. Go ahead, I'll get you. If you want to email them, say like you need to fund it more than $600,000, because right now, I'm gonna be honest with you, $600,000 is an opportunity to say we that we funded. It's a chance to say we funded an opportunity, but not a chance to say we funded a solution, because it ain't enough. It ain't enough, period. So I'm hopeful to have you guys, teammates, you certified doers, along the way with us. Again, don't be afraid to hit us up. Questions, comments, concerns. Until Tuesday, I think. I hope I didn't miss anything. Formula's on its way, too. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. If I don't see you guys, I'll see you on Thursday. I'll be touring CHKD's mental health hospital today. That's probably one of the most important things I do. And then getting myself prepared for June 1st as well. I will catch you guys on Tuesday. I hope you're able to make it a great day. So Thursday. Today is Tuesday. Until then, I'm Jackie Glass, Mama, Navy Vet, Certified Doer, your laced up legislator for the 89th District of the House of Delegates. And I want you to make it a great day. See you guys.